Hey everybody, this is Vicki and I'm here with Freeman from Sounds Under Radio. So you've been touring the last several months, correct? With the new record, Where My Communist Heart Meets My Capitalist Mind, which is a very cool title. So how's the tour been going?
Been going really, really well. You know, it's been sort of sparse and sporadic. The way that we used to tour, we used to just sort of go for months on end. And we, on this record, we sort of pulled back the reins and decided that we were going to sort of target specific places that, like, you know, where things were really reacting and responding well to the record. So we would go there and kind of do, you know, a small number of days and come home so we can be home for a while and sort of thing. But it's been going really, really well. People are really, you know, catching on to the record. And, you know, we love playing live shows. Like, it's a whole other element to what we do with our music, with our band. So we love just getting out and interacting with people. So it's been great.
Great. So where have been some of your favorite places to play?
On this tour or in general?
In general.
You know, we have a really good thing going on in Phoenix. That's a lovely place to be. I love playing New York. You know, New York, that city just has such a great atmosphere and a great environment.
Right.
And when we released our first record, I think we played New York more times than we actually played our hometown of Austin in that year. And it was just, it's the worst place to drive a van in a trailer in the universe. It's absolutely miserable and costs $120 to get into Manhattan and back with the van trailer.
Oh
but
my gosh.
It's an amazing place. It's an amazing place to play.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell me about the theme of the record and what you hope people will take away from it.
Sure. The theme of the record, as the title sort of implies, it's a record about politics, yet has really nothing to do with politics as you sort of generally see, especially with like the elections that we're in the middle of. It's a record about the politics of the self, these conflicts that one has, and you know, between their head and their heart. Oftentimes they blissfully align, and oftentimes they collide in really destructive ways. And you know, the aftermath and the effects that those things have on yourself as well as the people around you. So that's the sort of deeper global theme of the record, and the record itself sort of traverses this sort of internal dialogue as someone going through that sort of experience.
Yeah, cool. So you guys have had a lot of success with songs on like The Vampire Diaries and in a couple of films. How does that happen?
You know, that's the golden question. Everybody seems to ask it. With our band, we sort of have this philosophy that you strip everything away, and no matter what we do on any sort of external level, it all boils back to the songs that we write. And every time, you know, the band has been through many ups and many downs, and every time we've been in a down spot, we've said, okay, what do we do? Let's take a step back and let's write songs. That's what's been successful. And every time that we do that, it seems to catch on, and it seems to catch the right people's ear. The first major placement that we had was in the Spider-Man 3 soundtrack, a song called Portrait of a Summer Thief off our first record. And that situation is pretty descriptive of all the sorts of things that have happened for us in that realm. We were finishing our record, and we were passing off mixes to sort of people in the industry that we knew. And it just so happened our drummer Sonny, the guy who used to manage his band, now manages 311 and Sugar Cult. And so he just tossed him a disc. Guy lives in LA. He was driving around in his car and was out with a buddy for lunch, who just so happened to be doing music for the Spider-Man movie, and listening, and said, "Oh, I love this. Give me this disc." And so I just gave him the disc, and 2 weeks later, you get a phone call, and those sorts of things. It's just been like that, you know. And I mean, obviously, we've been working like crazy, meeting these people and building these relationships, but. Yeah, it's just crazy how these things sort of just happen.
Yeah, so you don't go into it thinking, oh, this song would be great for Spider-Man 3. It's just kind of...
Well, funny enough, we had titled our record Cinematica, the first record that we released, before any of that happened, because as we were sort of finishing the record, everyone kept, you know, we would show it to close friends, and they would say, man, this is sort of cinematic. It has such like a movie appeal to it. Every song you could see in a film, and so we sort of played to that, and you know, that kind of...
And it works.
Yeah, it seems to work.
That's awesome. So what would you consider your greatest accomplishment as a band so far?
Oh, geez. I think I would say sort of sticking to our roots and doing what I was describing earlier, just focusing on writing great songs. You know, like I said, we've had a whole bunch of ups and downs with the band. Our record Cinematico went through the major label world and back, and you know, we came on the other side and released that record ourselves, and you know, had a great response to it. And after that was done, you know, we sort of kind of had to pull back as a band and say, well, you know, we've seen all this, we've seen the good and the bad. Do we want to continue? Do we want to keep this going? And we said, well, let's write some songs and let's see. And so we did, and that sort of became the next record. And so that's the thing that I'm most proud of. I would say it's making our way through this.
Right, perseverance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you talked about writing songs a lot. What is that process like for the band?
Very different and vast and varied. I write a lot of material on my own and bring it to the band. And I know that whatever I write, when I run it through the filter of the other guys in my band, there's this element of trust there that I know will always come out on the other side better. We often write together, you know, all four guys in a room. Portrait of a Summer Thief, that was the first song that we ever sat in a room and said, let's scrap everything, let's write a song from the ground up. Bradley, Doug, Sonny, they all write, and we all sort of bring things collectively together.
Cool. So where did the name Sounds Under Radio come from?
Do you want the real answer, or do you want...
Whichever one you want to tell me.
Okay.
The real answer would be great.
Sure. There's a Jack Kerouac novel called Big Sur, and I love that acronym, S-U-R. And originally we had named the band Sur. Within a few weeks of us naming the band and sort of, you know, talking to people about it, it got really confusing as to what it was. People were like, Sir, S-I-R? So we sort of built on that acronym to build the band name Sounds on the Radio, which sort of was meant to sort of describe what we were doing musically, like writing songs that were ear-friendly, have melodies and hooks that sort of catch you, yet at the same time are sort of subversive in the way that they sort of grab you.
Right. Cool. So what kind of things do you want Sounds Under Radio to be doing in the future?
Continuing to write songs, playing shows, meeting more people. We love what we do. This is, I mean, getting to do this is a blast for us. You know, having music as your full-time job is a pretty great thing, and something that we really appreciate being able to do. So the future, continuing to do this, and hopefully just at every level sort of making it a little bit bigger and a little bit better.
Right. Okay, so kind of a serious question here.
Sure.
So bullying is kind of an epidemic in our schools across the nation. What would you say to your young fans about bullying?
You know, I remember being in high school, and there were a number of kids whom, you know, were treated very poorly. And I remember a moment when the Columbine shootings happened, and there was this moment where people that I knew who had been bullying these folks, I watched this interaction happen, you know, come together and say, hey, I'm sorry. Like, this is, I really, you know, I have perspective about this now. And I realize that my actions sort of impact people, you know. So, I mean, above anything else, realize that your actions do impact people, that the words that you say, the things that you do have an impact and effect on people. You know, even small, minute things that you don't realize have these impacts. So just be aware of the things that you say, the things that you do, because everyone will be affected.
Okay, so a couple of fun questions.
Sure.
Craziest thing that's ever happened on tour or in the studio?
Oh, geez. I don't know what I can say about that. We have some friends in Monroe, Louisiana. Our friends in Monroe is you know, sort of a small town. And we used to play a place there called the Blue Monkey Tavern. And it was awesome and terrible all at the same time. And I remember staying with these people, and there was a lot of drinking involved that night. And by the end of the night, I was on the phone with the police asking, we lost one of our friends. We lost the person that we were staying with.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and you know, we were going to sleep at their house for a few hours and then wake up the next morning and go. But at about like 7 in the morning, you know, this person just busts through the door after we had spent 4.5 hours, I think, walking through like the city trying to find them, literally breaking into 2 houses so that we could have a place to stay because he had the keys to everything like that, and then busting in the door and being like, "What did you guys do? Where did you leave me?" And we're like, you were nowhere to be found, you know? So anyway, I guess that's the craziest thing. We keep it kind of on the level, you know? We're the kind of band that's like, man, you know, everyone's like, let's go party after the show. It's like, man, I've got to get up at 8 tomorrow and drive 300 miles and do this again.
Right.
I'm going to bed. Thanks, though. So,
have fun.
yeah, exactly.
If you could tour with anyone, like dream tour, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I said it really depends, you know? In terms of large acts, like U2, Radiohead, Muse, Coldplay, all those sorts of... We're huge fans of the Brit rock. And, you know, I think our music would be pretty complementary with that.
Right.
But there's some really amazing bands out there on a sort of larger indie level. I saw the National the other day. Unbelievable band. Manchester Orchestra is a great band, one of my favorite bands. Something like that. So, yeah, there's lots of bands out there I would love to be on the road with.
And so what's on your iPod right now that you keep listening to over and over again?
You know, it's funny I answered this question today. Well, someone had left us this Facebook message saying that we should cover this song by this band, and I responded, I was like, man, all I'm listening to right now is this band Elbow. They're from the UK. Their last record, Build a Rocket Boys, and the one before that called Seldom Seen Kid. Love it. I can't stop listening to those records.
Cool. Well, is there anything that you want to say kind of in closing?
SoundsUnderRadio.com, Facebook Sounds Under Radio, Twitter SurTweet, S-U-R tweet. We're the real men behind all those sorts of things, so if you write us there, we write you back. We like to build a really personal relationship with our fans. Come to shows, it's a whole other sort of thing from what we do on the records. They're equally sort of this package that is the band, so, you know, come check us out. We hope you like it. If you don't, that's okay, but if so, it's great.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.